With all that being said, this has just been a super crazy weekend.
Yes.
Full of championships across the board. So, man, there was just so much to unpack. But what Ashley and I have decided to do is we were picking our top team and top individual that has impressed us during this weekend. So, Ashley, let's start with the teams first. Which team really caught your eyes and really probably elevated themselves over the weekend?
Well, I think before we go into this, I think we need to preface, just maybe go through a rundown of, what all happened this weekend. We had ACCs where you have the NC State women, Caitlin Tuing doing their thing. You have the UNC men win there. And then, SECs, you have the Parker Vali storyline. And then, Pac-12, there's upsets everywhere. It was just a wild weekend, And so I think that's kind of the big point is there's so much to unpack that I think it's easiest for us to break it down this way. And so just prefacing that there.
Yes.
But, first looking at the team that impressed me the most this weekend, it's definitely, when I looked at the Big 10 results, I was shocked to see just how dominant Wisconsin was on the men's team front. Going into this meet, there were some questions how good is Wisconsin? I know, Bob Liking didn't run at Nuttycombe. They didn't run a few of their top athletes in their top 7. So I think there are some questions, around, okay, how are these men going to do when it comes to conference? Well, they decided to go out there and score 19 points, almost perfect score. And they were dominant in this race. They went 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. That's their top 5. They all finished within that top 7 there. And then their 5th runner went, he finished 10th place, or 6th runner, excuse me. And then their 7th runner finished 26. And again, that's just dominant showing. They beat Michigan, who was in 2nd, by 50 points. They had their entire top 6 in before, all teams put 2 athletes in. Only Michigan, I believe, put 2 in before Wisconsin's 6th guy crossed, which is crazy. And, going into the weekend, they were ranked 24th in the USTF's CCCCA coaches poll. And, I assume that after this, they have to jump, way up the rankings. I'm thinking, top 10. That kind of performance, especially at a conference meet, you have bigger schools like Michigan and stuff like that. That's pretty dominant. And then, like I mentioned too, you have Bob Liking, who's their number 1 runner, and he has now won 3 straight individual titles, which he can make that 4 next year. And only a few athletes have ever done that, so that would be pretty historic. And, again, like I mentioned, he didn't run at Nuttycombe, and so I think people were curious to see, all right, is Bob going to be back? And he was back in a big way.
Yeah.
So I think the winner for me of this weekend is absolutely Wisconsin, because I think they've proven that they are a top 10 team in the nation, absolutely.
I agree with you there. I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit, talking about another big conference. I'm talking about Big 12. I talked about BYU before, and I'm going to bring them up again, because BYU women looked fantastic. And I think the biggest thing here was, we talked about, I believe it was last week, how they're going to have to face Oklahoma State. And, BYU was ranked number 4 going into the weekend. OSU was ranked number 6 on the ladies' side. And so I was just really curious about how this was going to shake up. But BYU, first time in the Big 12, and the ladies put together a huge, well, not a huge win. They won by 4 points, but I think huge in the fact that, this is definitely a confidence booster moving forward. They won with 35 points to Oklahoma State's 39, and all 7 of the women earned all Big 12 team, which is huge. They finished 4th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 13th, and 14th, and Oklahoma State came in. They won the title, finished as the runner-up there, 5th, 15th, and 16th. And I thought that was really impressive. BYU was just on point. I talked about Jenna Hutchins. She ran well. Carmen Alder ran well. The whole squad showed up that day and did what they needed to do. So I think BYU women have definitely showcased their talent and have definitely said, hey, yeah, we're definitely supposed to be ranked in the top 5, and it's our first year in the Big 12. Thank you for the invitation. We're ready to just showcase some dominance here. So for you, Ashley, I know we just talked about teams. Who was the individual that really caught your attention?
So like I mentioned, it's Bob Liking, that's who I think, because again, he was one where he hadn't raced Nuttycombe, so it's all right, you're not racing your home meet, your biggest meet on the season, and or one of the biggest meets, in the regular season. Mm-hmm. What's up there? But I guess it was just strategy, I think there were a lot of let's run threads, where's Bob Liking? Where is he? Well, he made himself known, and again, like I mentioned, it's really historic. He wins his 3rd straight title. He could make it 4. Next year. And so he comes out and gets the W and does it in a pretty big way. So I think that's pretty honestly, I think that's pretty impressive.
For me, on the ladies' side, I picked a young talent from Colorado. If you don't know the name Carrie Beloga, you definitely need to. She is a freshman. She just graduated from Cornwall High School out in New York. Just fantastic athlete. She won the Champs Sports National Cross Country Championship title last cross country season, and she wasted no time putting herself out there as a freshman to look out for. And so she was 21st at the Virginia Invitational. She was 39th at Nuttingcombe, but then grabbed a top 10 finish at the Pac-12. She finished 8th overall. And of course, she was the top freshman, the second fastest underclassman to compete at these championships. So I was really impressed to see Carrie Beloga. I know she's been super excited to represent Colorado and wasted no time doing great things.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to see her. I mean, obviously, I think she's a very great talent. I was kind of surprised to see her up there because I know she hasn't been. I don't think she's raced every meet this season for them. So I was surprised to see her go out there and do really well for them. But, yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our next segment, which is what we're calling the most shocking results from over the weekend. And I think you and I are both on the same page.
Are we both on the same page?
We're both on the same page. I went also in another direction, but I definitely agree with your pick here. So let's talk about Washington.
Well, I think we just need to say, first off, the Pac-12 championships. Like, what happened there? The whole time, I'm like looking at these results. I'm like, what the hell did we just witness here? Like,
it was
so
insane.
Many upsets, not just on the women's side, but like on the men's side too, which I know you and I are going to dive into in a little bit. But like, first off, with the women, going into this meet, you had like 4 really solid teams in the Pac-12, all ranked going into this. You had number 5 Stanford, number 9 Oregon State, number 14 Oregon, and number 19 Washington. Well, what happens here? No, it's not number 5 Stanford that wins, or Oregon State or Oregon. It's Washington that comes away with this upset here. They went 6, 7, 10, 14, and 21 for 58 points, and they beat Stanford by 2 points, who, I mean, ranks number 5 in the country, a big favorite there. And, if you're looking at the rest of the results, Washington finished 29 points ahead of Colorado, 30 points ahead of Oregon, and then Oregon State took 6 overall. So, so wacky how the results... I mean, hey, I think maybe that just shows you that the polls were A, wrong, or B, just that, Washington, sometimes you just need that motivation to get ready, get to the start line in Big 12. It's the last Big 12 championships ever, and it went really well for them. If you look into it a little bit more, too, Stanford even had the individual winner in Amy Bunnage and Lucy Jenks, who was 5th overall, but they still lose out on that title, and they went 1-5, 17, 18, 19. And the issue here for Stanford is that Washington had their 4th in before Stanford's 3rd. That spread and that pack running did much better for Washington than it did for Stanford because, you had your top 2 all the way out, but that gap between 2 and 3, 4, 5, that's what cost them. And so, again, that was pretty shocking for me. I think even they were shocked. If I've seen some pictures and videos from after the race, and Washington's just going crazy just because they won, and
rightfully so.
But then also, I want to throw this out there because I was thinking about this after this happened. All these shakeups, things don't go as planned.
Right.
It makes me wonder, does this just mean that maybe there's only 2 standouts in this? You know what I mean? So it's are there any other standout favorites on the NCAA women's side besides NAU and NC State? Because everyone else is just shifting every week. So
that's why we love cross country. That's why first of all, that's why we love
track.
Yeah, but
usually things can be predictable, and that was not predictable.
It was not predictable. I agree with you. I was completely shocked. I was like, wait a second. What happened to Stanford? Mm-hmm. Was it a bad day? But Stanford still ran well. That's the thing.
They ran well, but they need to close that gap.
They definitely need to do that, yes.
2 and 3. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, and Washington comes up with the win. Let's shift to the guys' side, because I have a lot of questions here.
Oh, yeah, let's stay on this. That's where I have the most questions, I think.
Okay. Let's talk about the Oregon men here, because I was very confused on... I just want to know the thought process. Okay, so we all know Simeon Birnbaum. If you don't know Simeon Birnbaum, look him up, because... fantastic runner. He's been running, but not officially, as a duck.
He's been unattached the past meet that he ran.
Mm-hmm. He ran well. Why wasn't he running? We also know Connor Burns, another freshman, and he competed at Pac-12.
See, okay, here's the here's the confusing thing, right? Is like he's probably thinking, okay, we're gonna run Birnbaum and Burns unattached in that first home meet with the intentions of we're gonna redshirt them this year, so that way we have them for like 4 or 5 years when they're older, more training, more experience underneath their belts. We'll save them for there. So the confusing thing for me is then why are you all of a sudden running Burns in uniform, finishes 30th at Pac-12s, but then Birnbaum doesn't race? It's just a little confusing to me, because I also saw too, like if Birnbaum had ran, he likely could have helped Oregon to finish second in the team race instead. And if he had gotten, I believe, in the top 2, I think I saw something, he would have helped them win. Which who knows if that really would have happened, but like still, I think there's just a lot of maybe some questions.
Obviously, I feel like there's a bigger picture that we're missing right now.
I mean, obviously, at this point, it's obvious. Birnbaum's redshirting, but then you have Burns running in the Oregon uniform at
That's what's confusing.
Which is a little confusing to me. So,
like we run Burns in the conference meet. Nothing before.
So I guess you aren't redshirting him. I don't know.
No, you can't now.
So, yeah, that's where I'm confused, personally. So I think that's the biggest surprise from Pac-12.
That's the biggest surprise. Pac-12.
Oregon with their whole lineup.
Whole lineup.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to switch gears and shift it to the SEC. This does not come as a surprise. What surprised me was the time. My jaw hit the ground.
Yeah.
Parker Valby goes 18:37 to win the SEC championships to defend her title. Like, excuse me? Like, she is in a league of her own. She went 8:58 for 3K. Her 5K split was 15:13. She was running 4:38 pace, and she completely separated herself from the rest of the field with 2K to go.
Yep, that's
like
pretty.
18:37. Excuse you.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I think the most impressive part is she was up there running with all the Alabama girls.
Yes.
And with like still a K to go, all of a sudden she just like the way she separated from them with like literally a K to go was the most impressive thing to me about this whole thing, because I believe she ended up beating them by like 30 plus seconds or something. I'm trying to find the results right now to look.
While you're looking that up, I'm going to give you some stats. So she led Florida to the team title, 51 points to Arkansas 62. All 5 of their scoring runners placed in the top 20, and 3 of them were in the top 10. Fantastic. This is the program's 7th SEC cross-country championship title and the first one since 2012, which is incredible.
Yes. Crazy. Also, I wanted to, so 4:59 pace, not 4:38 pace for this 6K. Yes. I just wanted to, because I'm like 4:38 pace, there's no way. I'm still trying to find the results. But anyways, I think just like the moral of the story here is, I mean, we're not surprised. Parker Valby's freaking good. And I think the funny thing too afterward is I believe after the race, they interviewed Will Palmer, Florida head coach. And, obviously Valby's very famous for, having a heavy cross-training routine. And I think someone asked, like, how many days is she running a week right now? 3? And he said something, I believe his response was, usually 2. So she's running 2 days a week and, obviously doing the cross-training. I just think that was an interesting note there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I found the results. So you were looking for, Parker Valby, 18:37. Doris Lamongo from Alabama went 19:11.2.
Okay, so that's the crazy thing, right? Because they were literally with each other till the final K, and then she dropped 40 seconds ahead of her. Like, that's insane.
Absolutely nuts. So now, I guess the biggest question, just kind of looking ahead, let's just skip regionals. Let's just say Parker Valby, Caitlin Tuohy do what they need to do. We're at NCAAs now. We're in mid-November. At this point in time, they both ran, their conference championships. Caitlin Tuohy wins ACCs. Valby wins SECs. At this moment, who has the upper hand right now? Is it Valby?
Parker Valby, absolutely. Like,
wow, I didn't even.
And I'm not even trying to. There's no hate to anyone. It's just it's fact, right? Like she put down. I mean, she beat Tuohy dominantly, pretty dominantly in Nuttycombe. No one even really challenged her there for that latter half of the race. And then I think, again, the way that she was able to run with the pack comfortably at a fast pace for so long at SECs and then just drop the hammer with a K to go and still beat the rest of the field by 40 seconds, like, no one's going to beat her. She has that kick now, right? Like, obviously we saw at Nuttycombe, you know, she did what she did at NCAA's last year where she went out really fast, but this time she was able to hold on and just like cruise ahead. But then this go around, she sticks with the pack, she sticks with the leaders, lets them do all the work, and then she's like, all right, I'm just going to take off, kick it into the end. Like, at this point, she's shown she can win both ways, and so I think that's her upper hand, right? She can win if she goes out really hard, or she can win if she sticks a little bit and then decides to wait and then go. So I would say it's Valby.
So now Valby has opened up another play to her playbook. I know going into, we've talked about Valby a handful of times on the podcast of like, okay, her race strategy is going out hard and have you try to catch her. But now, like you said, she just revealed another play here.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, hey, I could hang tight and then decide to kick.
Yeah, and still win by like 40 seconds. So
domination, total domination. So with all that being said, I love this question for us. Whose stocks have gone up from this weekend? Do you have a special team that like rose?
I'm going to start. I picked an individual and and a team. So,
okay, that's what I did too.
Yes, you know, looking again, trying to aggregate all this conference championship information into like the most, I think, important parts. And so, you know, one athlete that I think after this weekend, her stock has risen in an insane amount has to be Taylor Rowe of Oklahoma State. She wins the Big 12 individual title. She hadn't raced at all yet this season. This was her first race of the 2023 cross-country season, and I think there are some questions as, you know, whether or not she was healthy, but then she goes in to Big 12s and she wins this race. She ran 19:35 for 6K, won this race by 7 seconds, and so I think this was a huge win for her. You know, obviously, you know, I think this is key, especially as you're going into regionals, to see like, okay, hey, she can, not only is she now racing again, I don't know, you know, the reasons why she waited so long to debut, but like, okay, hey, now I can go into regionals with this confidence that like, hey, I can win and then go to NCAAs. And she's, you know, an NCAA contender and has been for a couple of years. And so I think having Taylor Rowe back is both huge for her and individually, but also for Oklahoma State as a team as well.
All right, so I lied. I only have one team. I had two notes. I had two notes, but like one is because we had the conversation. I had Washington women after their dominating performance at Pac-12s. Their stocks have definitely risen. But I also want to talk about the Colorado women because the USTFCCCA has them ranked number 20. And they finished third at Pac-12s with 87 points and was just 27 points behind Stanford. Again, I mentioned Carrie Beloga, the freshman, led the team. They beat Oregon, they beat Utah, and Oregon State, who were ranked, well, minus Utah. But Oregon and Oregon State have been ranked in front of Colorado, and I really feel like the Colorado women really showcased their talents.
I think Colorado's been kind of an enigma. You know, I think they're dealing with some injuries. Natalie Cook isn't running. Some other athletes as well, and so I think this third place is a pretty big confidence boost for them, considering you know what they're dealing with. I think this season. Any
other thoughts on stock ups?
Oh, I got my team. You can't forget my team.
I can't forget the team. Okay.
All right. How about the UNC men? I think I was wrong. I was very wrong in this prediction. I'm pretty sure last week I said there was no question that Syracuse would win. Like we both
said that.
I was like, no one's beating Syracuse.
We both said that.
Well, UNC completely proved me wrong. They won their first ACC title since 1985. That's a long time. It's been a long time since 1985, and I mean much earlier than I was born. You know, they got beat pretty badly by again team title favorite Syracuse at Nuttycombe. You know, but then they come back to ACCs and they reverse the script. They put their top four all within the top 10 of the race. And they beat Syracuse by 16 points, and Parker Wolf took the individual win there. So, UNC men, stock up.
And you said Parker Wolf won.
I was right about that one.
Okay.
You were wrong.
Rocky Hansen did not line up.
Unfortunately, yes.
He did not line up. So
I was seeing reports that maybe he's dealing with got kind of banged up from Nuttycombe, maybe dealing with an injury. So, hopefully he'll be ready for regionals.
Rocky, I'm cheering for you for regionals.